And we're live just like that with Mr. Arvind Parthiban. Welcome.
Thanks for having me on the show, Kevin. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And we've been working on this one for quite a while, and you're certainly a busy guy. You've got a lot of stuff going on. We'll kind of get into all the adventures that you've had and the ones you have now. And but I just appreciate you taking some time. I know where you're dialing in from. It's late in the evening, so I appreciate you accommodating the time. And let's jump right into it. So you have a really interesting background. You've got I don't know, I'll call it a worldly background. You've had a lot of tech. You've been all over the world. You've had some interesting experiences, startups and exits, and I guess let's kind of take a step back and figure out kind of the early days. What were the early days? Your matriculation and what got you into kind of this whole tech world.
Oh, perfect. So I am a kid who was bad at math, but in India there's a thing, right? Like every parents wants their kids to become an engineer. So it's like
Mm.
a social norm. Like you either become a doctor or an engineer. And I am academically average. Like I was always into sports. I used to play football and cricket. I represented the division which I played for. Like I was the first division's captain. So I was always into sports. I was always outside the classroom and not in the classroom. But I had to pick a choice when I wanted to decide on my career. So I thought I'll do my engineering for my sake of my parents. I did my engineering. I really didn't like coding. That was my first. I really not want to code or become a developer. So what I thought was, okay, let me finish this, and then I'm going to pick something of my forte, and then move abroad, go to US, and do my masters there. That was the actual plan. But I wanted to do a part time during the phase between my undergraduate to postgraduate. So I applied for a company called Advenet that is now called Zoho. Back then, it was a very small company. I was a very early employee there. Like I wanted to do a part time for 3 months in that company. That's where I met my mentor and boss Girish Mathrubodham, who's the CEO of Freshworks. So we had a very interesting interview, like about entrepreneurship, what we want to build in future, and like pretty much we both had similar stories, like why in future we want to build a great company and things like that, and enjoy the conversation. Tried working there for 3 months and leave, but ended up for 10 years. I pretty much did every single role, wore all kind of hats in Zoho, spent a decade. That's where, like, I would call my college as Zoho. That's
Wow.
where I learned what I learned.
So, what was your intention? You said you're going in 3 months. I mean, what did you think you were going to get out of that experience early on, and then kind of move on?
To be honest, I just thought, okay, instead of being idle, I'll go work there for 3 months and then do my masters and move to US, because US the college admissions happens in September, right? Like
Mm.
so I was like, instead of being idle, I'll go work. I joined as a pre-sales engineer. My job is to give demos
Mhm.
and then like basically implement the product. But what I figured out there in Zoho is there is this one Indian company that is the first product company out of India. Back in 2005, India is known for outsourced call centers. Like you call your credit card company and the calls land in India, right? At the time, everything was like an outsourced. Zoho was a pioneer in innovation. They were first cloud-based company back in 2005. There was cloud was just picking up. They were already a cloud-based company. They had their own data centers. And like I got curious, like some company based out of Chennai, somewhere not in Valley, and they are ahead of time. Like I won't get this learning anywhere else. I won't get this learning in any college, right? Like so, I thought, okay, this is the front seat, and my job is like they actually help the entrepreneurial mindset. Even they are figuring it out. We didn't have the technology, or we didn't have the access to good talent like how Valley is. Like if it's for, like I used to do product marketing in 2008. it's my job to figure out what my job is. Nobody trained me or nobody taught me. Like they just said, they
Right.
gave me a laptop and said, "You figure out what product marketing is." I'm the early product marketer, so we had to do everything from scratch, make mistakes and learn. The best part is they allowed me to make mistakes. So everything is like self-made. We figured out ourselves and wore multiple hats and learned. So I think that was the key because I always knew I want to start my company. That was my childhood dream to become an entrepreneur and everything. I thought Zoho was the best place where I could actually make myself something. So that's why I stayed back there.
That's so great. You did you mentioned you kind of got in the ground floor. It was at that point it was it, unique. It was unicorn amongst India. To your point, at that time, that was during the big push to outsource, right? Especially call center, and
Exactly.
then you had the rise of mega services companies like Tata and others. And so yeah, that I'm trying to think back. If there's a number. I mean, there's dozens is an understatement of really amazing Indian platforms now. But yeah, going back, it's like there weren't many, right? And it seems like you guys were
There are
kind of the
many.
forefront of the pioneers of cloud at that point.
Exactly. Like if you look back now, like the number of unicorns which have come out, there are more than 150 unicorns from India. Like pretty much all the big companies, like you take all the big tech giants from Microsoft, Google to Adobe to IBM. Pretty much the CEOs were like I would always say India outsources tech talent.
Yeah, but I mean, do you think that wave? I mean, because it was a wave, right? India had to build the infrastructure to be able to support, just how many, not just from the U.S. but globally, all the companies that were outsourcing to India. But do you think that, I don't know if that incubators are right word, but was that like kind of the seeds of innovation for India to get to where India is today, and having that many software unicorns? I mean, it seems like it was kind of like the perfect timing, your perfect kind of scenario to develop talent, and then you're developing talent, and then you're developing the technologies, the innovation. Now at this point where you just got amazing, companies coming out of India.
So it's a combination of few things which all work together, right? Like first, it is the access to number of talent, resource talent. India has millions and millions of engineers,
Yeah.
right? So like every college like produces like in my state where I live, every year there are close to around 50,000 engineers who pass out. So the access to engineers. Second is the language. Pretty much everybody in India speaks English,
Mhm.
so that makes it a global platform by itself, right? The third most thing is it became an evolution. Like we started with tech little late. It became a back office, outsourced BPOs and call centers,
Mhm.
outsourced companies like basically we can call Infosys or TCS or these companies as big MSP too. Like a lot of things were outsourced and they were basically doing the services job, right? Uh, lot of good Indian talent, like from colleges like IITs and like the cream layer of India talent left outside India. They started working in big corporations and they were working in key strategic roles.
Mhm.
Everybody started coming back.
Mhm.
So all this worked out timing well. Like people who been in the journey came back. They wanted to invest in innovation and future, and there is enormous amount of talent. Like so India became kind of the SaaS capital.
Yeah.
And now India's economy is growing, and which also allows people not just working, the entrepreneurial mindset to go and start up and make a difference. So now last 10 years has been very, very critical, and the number of companies which has come out and the economy, the ecosystem, people who have been in the path, been there, done that, all that worked, and India is kind of actually strong in technology now. If you ask me, like I always tell this to folks, right? Like we all are used to buying German cars, Italian food, French wine. Like if you have to name what is for India, we can call it we are the software folks.
Absolutely. I mean, it's got to be a fun time, because
Yeah.
just the amount of acceleration that India and transformation India has undergone especially over the last 10 years. And I don't know if it's like capped off by successfully landing on the South Pole of the moon
Someone.
last week. I mean, that's pretty exciting. I'm not gonna swear on this, but some pretty exciting stuff. I mean,
No, I have a
yeah.
lot of respect for ISRO. I had the opportunity in my college to go and do an industrial visit there to just go see the ISRO is like the NASA equivalent of India, which is very close to where I come from. It's like 60 miles from Chennai. Uh, they actually sent a moon. The movie's budget, the budget of the moon campaign is lesser than Interstellar's movie's budget.
Wow.
Right, they were
Yeah.
able to build a rocket which goes to moon, which was lesser than Interstellar's movie budget. That was amazing.
That's
And the
incredible.
best part of it, right, all talent is similar to what I said now, self-thought. The
Yeah.
technology was from here, and people who went to like they built it from here. Like that's the quality of education which I wanted to
Yeah.
point out. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe, trying to go too far back too many times, but you mentioned, you said from early on, like you wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? You were
Yeah.
like, I want to start something. Where did that come from? Was that familial? Did you have a mentor, or was there a moment when you were younger that you were like, that's the direction I'm going in?
Okay, it's this is kind of a personal story. My dad is a farmer, son of a farmer. So he was the first graduate in his village, and he started a company way early in the 1980s. He kind of reassembled a German engineering mission which creates laden wire, and he just worked in a company for a month, and he was able to understand the technology, reassemble it, and he started a company which produces that laden wire. Employed like 150 people, but the unfortunate thing was he failed is because he didn't have the exposure of running in business. It's not just about the product. You need to know the nuances around it, the finances, the procurement, supply, demand, right? So he didn't have that exposure. So, or we can call the word another word, technical know-how. But when that company failed, but he was able to employ a lot of people, and he taught them that technical know-how. So whenever I go back to my father's hometown, I see a lot of people coming to my dad and thank him for teaching them that job, so that they were able to get employed in different good companies around the country, and they were doing well. So I was able to see the gratitude they had, and they always praise us, though he was not a successful entrepreneur. And for me, it was two things. One, I wanted to take my dad's dream and build a company where he left off. That was one. And the second thing which stuck is like the technical know-how can actually touches a lot of life. You can give someone the saying is this, right? Like you can give somebody a fish or teach somebody how to fish.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like, hey, this is how I want to go down. Like my legacy should be like, hey, I was able to create a company. Can be 5,000 employees or 10,000. I won't even want to call employees. Folks who worked with me, who learned new things, and we were able to uh, create a technical know-how and teach them how to fish. That's the whole idea, and the joy is in the entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're at, you thought what was going to be a 3-month stint at Zoho turns into 10 years.
Yeah.
I guess what was the exiting out of Zoho, and then what was next?
So 10 years, I played wore multiple hats: pre-sales, support, marketing, worked in product, and then after 10 years, I started a company called Zarget. It was in website conversion rate optimization. So I'm IT guy. All my life, I was in IT service management product. I'm a tech IT. The other side is the marketing. So these are the two worlds I knew. So I didn't want to enter IT again. So I thought I will try marketing. So I built a product for the marketing folks. It's a website optimization software which does heat maps, A/B testing, and things like that. So we were kind of lucky enough. We immediately raised from Matrix, Axel, and Sequoia. We raised 7.5 million in a year. It's because of the exposure we have from Zoho and the brand, and we had Freshworks team backing us. So I had 6 million left in the bank when we got acquired by Freshworks, because the business model didn't make sense. We did have 500,000 revenue, but it was volume business, and it was kind of a use and throw software. Small businesses don't optimize website and use the software for a year. They will use it for 3 months and then they will move on. And So we didn't have that LTV, longevity of the product. So we either had to pivot or get into a larger market like marketing automation. And as I said, my mentor Girish, he was planning to build CRM and marketing automation together. So we just merged the product. Fresh Marketer was the product. We got acquired. I know I would not call it a successful exit in my mind, because I wanted to build a great company, but I just got lucky, or I wanted. So the timing was right. So the acquisition cost during Freshworks IPO, I got acquired very early when Freshworks was at 700 million valuation. During the IPO, the exit value was $300 million. Like, we all made a decent amount of exit.
Wow.
So Zagat, we sold it for 300 million, and then I was heading the marketing for Freshworks for a couple of years. That's when I flew the blimp and all these things.
Yeah, we were talking behind the scenes about some of your interesting marketing exploits and what you did at it was a Dreamforce, right? It's Dreamforce.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
if you want to talk about it for a couple of minutes, like, I'll tell you the plan behind it. Like, Freshdesk was a single product company, and then they launched Fresh Service and then Fresh Sales. It's a multi-product. They wanted to, so everybody knew the point products. Nobody knew the parent brand, which was Freshworks. So Freshdesk was much more popular than Freshworks. So we were doing rebranding at the time, and we wanted to do a branding exercise. So we actually took over the whole of San Francisco during Dreamforce. We had all the bus ads, we had BART ads, we had billboards, but nothing stuck as much as Blimp. So we said, actually, we need a cherry on top. So that's how the Salesforce campaign happened. We literally took the Blimp and flew it around. But the most important part, as I told you in back of the scenes, it's not the campaign which matters. A lot of people try to go and do these kind of guerrilla marketing activities, but it should resonate with the audience. So at that time, the Salesforce was actually going through a big backlash in Reddit with Salesforce, and people were complaining about the customer support and the kind of product issues they had. And then they also had similar issues in the other areas in the Dreamforce journey. So everything piled onto that hashtag, and it became a big hit.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well played. It's, you were just mentioning that even like today, people kind of reference, the brands, they often use that picture, as part
Exactly.
of the
Even
story.
during
So
IPO, they use the same image. Till date, any PR, I think the Freshworks IPO, the blimp image is what it became an identity.
awesome. Yeah. You created some longevity out of that. So well done. Well done. So now we're kind of transitioning into today and super ops. And so I guess let's talk through that transition. So you're there, and then you take a sabbatical afterward, and then dream it all up again, and or how did the next venture come along?
So actually, I didn't take a break, surprisingly. So what happened is, my last employee in Zarget, exactly it was 100th employee, was Jay Kumar, my co-founder at SuperOps. So I actually, he used to work in Zoho. He's a very early Zoho employee. He's like a 30th employee of Zoho. He's senior to me in Zoho. And he was living in Australia, working for a big data company. And when I was in Zarget, where I had multiple plans, whether to get acquired or the second product, I actually called Jay and said, I want you to move back to India and help me with the second product. So he actually moved all the way back from Australia to India, and then unfortunately we got acquired. So I told him, I gave my word saying that if I start again, right, I'll start with you, like, because it's about people, and I have some good relation with them, and I know that he'll be a great co-founder. So I told him that we will start up again. So in Freshworks, I had the golden cuffs. It's 2 years. So I have this tattoo. This is the tattoo which I got when I joined Freshworks, the day I joined Freshworks, just to remind me, saying that I will start up. I don't want to get into comfort zone. Money can do that. Like, you get some good, decent money, and then you're in a comfortable job. You do not want to take risks. So, but to remind me every single day, I just got this tattoo. It says, "Die with memories, not regrets." So I didn't want that regret of not starting up. So I said we'll start up. So 2 years on the dot, I went back to Girish and said I'm starting. He asked me for few more months till he finds a replacement, and then like I kind of stayed there for 2 years, 8 months or something. But Jay left little early, started the research, but we were very clear on what to start, what to do. We wanted to start in IT. Because that's what I know. That's what my co-founder know. We have been there in Zoho for 10 years. He was there for 15 years. We knew that space well. I didn't want to because that's what I know really well, and I want to play for my strength. So we wanted to get back to IT. So my initial idea was to start in IT operations management. But when I did my research, I saw MSP space how it was in 2012. Me and Jay did a product in 2012 called Service Desk plus MSP. The same research was still true even in 2020.
Wow.
Nothing changed.
Yeah.
4 legacy vendors, most of them on-prem. Nothing changed. Like the research was still true. I'm like this is an opportunity. Like let's do it in MSP instead of IT, because it's end of the day pain points are same. It's just the how we package it, like it's a multi-client versus single client, right? So we thought, okay, let's do MSP, and our learnings from IT can be used in MSP, and that's how we landed up in MSP market.
Do you think in some ways, I mean, it's great to be able to look at that research, 8-10 years later and say things haven't changed, but was some of this kind of, was any of it like, I don't know, finishing what you started with Zoho? And because like Zoho became multi-product, multi-platform, and I think it had some kind of, call it like light service desk. I could be getting that wrong, whatever, but it seems like, you're able to take kind of the, elements from the marketing automation, from, IT operations, from CRM, and kind of lean into solving this problem that, to your point, 10 years later, 8-10 years later, still had not been solved. Right. And so it seems like, I don't know, maybe I'm projecting, but it's like, it almost feels like, it's like the next
kind
evolution.
of actually got the thought process. So to go deeper in the thought process, right? See, the pain points of end users never change. The way we solve it changes. I'll give you a small example. So let's say my favorite song is "Sweet Child of Mine," Guns N' Roses, right? Back in my school days, I used to listen it in a tape recorder.
Right.
I think before that we used to listen in a CD man or something like that, and then iPods came in, and then now we listen it in Spotify, and then Alexa plays it. Right, like the song is the same, but the mission we use to listen to has changed over a period of time. So if you take the same analogy, so if I have a problem with my laptop, how I communicate with my IT team, it's been through phone, it's been through email, chat, and it's been changing. But our systems were built based on ticketing system. Everything is email based, Outlook or that format. But the world is moving away from it. Same way, problems, monitoring it with an agent, to AI telling you and predicting you and telling you this asset might go down, right? This problem is same, but the solution with technology changes over a period of time. That's the thought process. So when I saw all the vendors in the market, they are 20 years built 20 years back. They are trying to solve the problem with the same thought process. You can't change it from the ticketing workflow to a chat workflow. You can't change it from an agent workflow to a AI workflow, because you have to rebuild the whole thing, not enhance it. So that was the thought process. Like for me, I think like let's go and disrupt it, change the way you do it, but also should be thoughtful with how MSPs are used to it, and you need to also educate the market and bring it along. You can't just go and throw a new way of doing things and they're not going to adopt it. I knew it's a uphill task in educating also, but I was like we need to build both and handhold and bring it. So that was the thought process behind it, and the timing was perfect for us. Like AI was exactly picking up at the time, and now if you see, it was like our thesis were right. Like ChatGPT changed everything. Every business is now going through that revolution. We thought this in 2020, so that worked out.
Yeah, it worked out very much ahead of the game. it's funny because they are, to your point, right there. I think a couple of groups have picked up on the fact that there's these legacy and on-prem, platforms, and it's true. Like the larger organizations always have the challenge, the build or buy challenge, right? But it feels like for probably those 10 years, they sat stagnant, right? They weren't buying, they weren't going to build because there's only so far that you could build on top of the on-prem, and then trying to convert it to, cloud-based platform. But they kind of stalled in their acquisition or kind of having the foresight to acquire and transition. And in a lot of ways, they're playing catch up just as much as now you guys have come onto the scene and disrupted the marketplace. And so they, it's almost like they didn't see that threat. But what's interesting is that a lot of the groups that have emerged, they've started in one swim lane. Maybe they started, PSA, and then maybe, other groups have started with RMM, but you've kind of gone after both ends of that marketplace, which is, some might say it's pretty, it's a daunting, kind of concept, but you guys have tackled both sides, of the core, platforms that an MSP uses. I mean, what was the thought process behind, going after both of those markets?
It's a great question. So I had a thesis, right? Like first is, there are two ways to penetrate a market. One is land and expand, or take on head on. If I build a small product, piggyback, I enter and then build multiple products. That is the way most of the companies do. The reason is, one is they might not have the runway for it because they need to start making revenue faster. They don't have the time. So then they build on top of it and build a great company. That is one way to do it. What we did is we said, okay, we are going to build a mission critical product, and that is going to be either PSA or RMM. But when we did the initial research, the gap analysis, what we did was unified platform. Truly unified platform was one thing which MSPs were looking for. It was not just PSA RMM. We built IT documentation, we built project management, and then we have a layer of automation that's with the AI, right? Like literally like 4 products. The advantage we had is we kind of had the talent who been there, done that, who built these kind of products in the past. Like from our experience from both Manage Engine and Freshworks, people have been in the IT space. This product usually takes at least 5 to 6 years to build. PSA, RMM, IT documentation, all these kind of things, because we knew the research, we knew the tech people, even engineers in the engineering world. First time coding is tougher. Once you know this is the feature, it is much faster. We were able to actually hit the market in 2 years.
Wow.
That's the speed. Like we built 5 products together in a platform, and actually we are launching network monitoring, which is again an ocean or a product. We are launching it this month. We opened it for beta users. Like you're talking about big TAM, like all $1 billion TAM products individually. We built that in less than 3 years, like all 6 products. So my reason behind it is, I am not going to go with one USB. I know we have to respect the competition. You're talking about people who have been there 30 years or 20 years ago. They have built enormous platforms. And the reason why they have not been disrupted so many years is because they have the depth in the product. I can't just go build one small feature and a USB or a Chrome extension and expect to go and become the leader in the market. So I said, like, if we are going to become a leader, let's act like a leader. I'm going to build everything. From day one, I'm going to say, I want to disrupt this market. I'm not going to piggyback. I'm not going to do in a small marketplace. Let's do that. We raised enough funding, and that was the thought process behind it.
Wow. Look, I think, again, just as much as with AI, what's interesting is that, we've got thousands of product reviews on our site right now. And as we start to dig into the data and you really see the trends behind the data, what the MSPs are asking for, number one, and we're actually going to put our first report out next week. We want to make this podcast timely, but next week will be kind of first week in September of 2023. But The first report will talk about the number one requests across every single product category. And we've got hundreds of product categories. Number one request is integrations, right? And that's the big challenge, right? Is that, to your point, the industry's been built on these point solutions, right? And then there's the idea, well, I have to have this talk to this, and then let's work on a workflow or some type of integration, but then it's disparate, and company that you're integrating into may be acquired by somebody else. Maybe the integration goes away. And so, it's a risk. It's an absolute risk. But you're starting with that mindset, building RMM, PSA documentation, getting into network monitoring, all, again, projecting, but, all, integrated in one platform. I mean, that's getting to, that's where this industry it was going, but that's where these MSPs need to go. And it sounds like you guys are building, kind of future forward looking into getting to this one platform concept.
Exactly, you're spot on. I think integrations was one of the things which we also kept in mind, and not just this is the core product. And again, this is like a nucleus, and there are so many other parts to it. Apart from MSPs use a lot of products. The way we are thinking about it, think about it like a Baskin and Robbins. You can build your own Sunday. You have PSA, RMM, IT documentation, network monitoring. Or if you want to work with multiple vendors, you just want to buy my PSA, you still can.
Yeah.
Only when you like our product, you can use the other options. Like we gave that option, that's what I told my folks. We are Baskin and Robbins. They want one scoop or a whole Sunday. We should be able to provide it.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great analogy. And I think, that's something, any of the vendors that might be watching, that's something I think that model is proven to be the most successful model, right? It's you have not just multiple swim lanes, but you increase your TAM, your cross-sell motions, your cost of sale drops dramatically versus your NCA costs. I mean, that's, that is, I guess that comes from the experience. You've been down this road a couple of times, and but any of the upstart vendors that might be listening, I mean, that's truly a definition of success, or these successful platforms is having that kind of model, and obviously timing the market right and having the right product and the right team behind you certainly helps. So it sounds like you check the box in all those categories.
Yeah, we have been lucky too. So I think timing worked out, and we also had great investors backing us. Before even I did my seed, to build this kind of product, you need the time and patience from our investors. I closed a Series A before even I launched my product, and we were lucky like that. And we have one of the best investors in the globe. They have the deep pockets to even cut checks up to $1 billion, and I think comes from the exit and experience from our last company and the team we have built. So we have 5 big investors backing us, and that helped us well.
Yeah, well, look, I'm excited to see the growth and what you guys are doing, the disruption, and again, this is the area that encourage every MSP to go out to the site, and we'll kind of get to that in a minute. We'll get the plug in here, but you're building, you're forward thinking, forward looking, and I think that's one of the reasons why you guys have been so darn successful. So it's been a great conversation. What's the easiest way for the audience to connect with SuperOps, with the organization? What's the best path?
So we believe in a very transparent model, right? Everything is on the website. So superops.com or superops.ai, whichever link, you can just go to the website. 21-day free trial. You don't have to give us any credit card information, nothing. It's open free trial. You can get a demo if you want. You can try the product. You can get an extension of the license if you want to, and try the product. Use it only if you like it. You will be able to. You can buy it even online, without any interaction with salespeople. And we also have this unique option of free support, because the properly, any questions, we will be happy to help. That should not be a paid one, and we'll give you immediate support. So be it chat or email or call, during evaluation post customers, you will get that support. And I promised in the MSP market that one of the things which I read in the community is they wait for 3 days to get a support from any vendor. I said we should make it into 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Within 3 minutes, our folks will talk to you.
That might be your biggest disruption in this marketplace, because to your point, I mean, if there's any complaints out on the Reddits and the Facebook groups and all that stuff, it's the support. It's always support, right? And
I told it a different way, right? Like if we are selling economy tickets, let's give them the first class experience.
Yeah. No, that's probably one of the myriad of reasons why you've been so darn successful in every event or venture that you've been a part of. So this has been great. Like, again, I appreciate you taking the time kind of for the end of your day here. But again, encourage the audience to go out and check out SuperOps. They just, they've been well regarded in the marketplace. There's been a lot of a lot of traction and a very disruptive model, very sound model for MSPs moving forward. So definitely go check them out. And Arvind, again, I mean, it's been great chatting with you here, and we'll make sure that we drop some of these links in the show notes and do our part. But thank you again for joining me, and hopefully see you on a future episode. Once this thing is $1 billion company, the next $1 billion company.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it and take you up for this word. And thank you so much for having me in this podcast, and looking forward to the next one. Thank you.
Awesome. Good stuff. Thank you very much.
Thanks.